Welcome, class. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to allow Amanda and I to present Chapter 10 to you. I hope you are all doing well and you enjoy this presentation. We are presenting Chapter 10, International Training and Management Development. This presentation was created by Amanda Guerrero and myself, Sarah Martinez. I want to begin with a little icebreaker to get our minds going. I know it's a bit challenging to be engaging with how this is delivered, but we'll definitely try our best. If you could please read this sentence and count the number of F's you see. So no cheating, I will only allow a couple more seconds to count them all. Okay, so if you counted 13 F's, you were correct. How did y'all do? I know I personally skipped some when I first did this, especially the F's in the word of. Our brains tend to read over those little words due to our need to be quick and efficient. This exercise ties into our presentation because just like reading was at one point a learning development, training and management is the equivalent. They are essentially something that is learned along the way in multinational enterprises. Here, the little words tend to be overlooked or missed, and this is just a reminder that it's the little things that make the big thing effective. I want to briefly go over what you should expect to learn from this presentation. You are more than welcome to use this next slide as notes. We will be discussing the importance of training and development as well as the issues that may arise in companies. How being culturally diverse is important when working for multinational environments, and key concepts in acquiring a global mindset. Here I will go over the 7 key imperatives to global organization, learning and training and development. The first is think and act globally. A global enterprise must think about and prepare for a presence in all the critical markets in the world, not just in its home region. Next is to become an equidistant global learning organization. Learning must be facilitated from and in all cultures. Third key function is to focus on the global systems, not its parts. Training and development programs need to stop the departments that operate independently and avoid sharing information. The departments also need to stop boundaries between countries. They must focus on the global organization as a whole. Fourth key focus is to develop global leadership skills. Global leadership skills are separate from domestic leadership skills and must be developed successfully in order to succeed in a multinational enterprise. Key function number 5 is to empower teams to create a global future. International teams must be used for organizational projects and for problem solving because they provide a unique perspective. The sixth key function is to make learning a core competence for the global organization. Learning is a very important aspect for multinational enterprises and must be a core competency to encourage employees to keep learning globally. Lastly, the seventh key focus requires that both the global organization and its individual members must constantly reinvent themselves. To compete with other companies, continuous self-development and growth is a key aspect. These 7 key aspects just mentioned keep a global organization able to match constant changing and expanding global needs and keeps organizations able to succeed in an international marketplace. In this slide, we will go over the following 7 issues related to global training and development. The first is localized approach to global training and development. As an employee of a multinational enterprise, you must remember to put training programs not only into the language of the other country when sending them out to other subsidiaries or locations around the world, but to also put it into their culture nuances as well. This is because one type of training program may work for your company location, but it may not work for others, and so they will have a hard time implementing it, or they may not implement it at all. For example, your training may work for your employees in the United States location, but it may not translate well for the Japanese since their culture is different. Next is culture. International human resource professionals must know how a culture views the educational process before they create a training program for them. Different cultures view education differently. For example, the Asian culture is a high-power distance culture. They view education more formal, serious, and respectful than that of the Americans. Their topic is learning styles. People from different cultures have different learning, training, and teaching styles, and so you must keep that in mind when working in a multinational enterprise. Fourth concern is the education levels and forms. Education varies around the world. The education infrastructure, the basic level of literacy, the nature of the education system all vary country to country, so being familiar with this is very important. Those of a younger generation have also grown up with technology, and so their training and learning styles may be different as well. Next topic is language. As the human resource manager, you must consider being able to talk, sell, negotiate, and manage in the language of the customers and/or employees' language. This is a good way to connect with them and build a successful multinational enterprise. Learning other people's languages is so important for a multinational enterprise because it shows that you respect their culture and you're wanting a deeper understanding of their culture. You know their speech patterns, thought patterns, and behavior patterns. In a multinational enterprise, language can be an issue if not executed properly. When developing a training, one of the biggest issues to consider is whether to produce the training into one universal language like English, or to translate the training programs into many different languages. English has become the language of choice for conducting international business. Many multinational enterprises work in over 100 countries, and so it's easier to have one common language spoken instead of a multitude of others. However, certain cultures may still want to conduct business in their language as a sign of respect or pride. The next concern are the training and development laws. Multinational enterprises need to consider national laws and regulations. These laws may include spending a certain amount of payroll expenses on training. Some of these trainings include trainings for sexual harassment, cross-training, and reduction in force, to name a few. These trainings must be in their local language so that it can provide financial resources for employees receiving the training and to comply with labor contracts. Lastly, transfer of learning. Learning issues are a problem for cross-border training and development. Trainers must consider the nature of cross-border training and pay close attention to who needs to receive the training. Here we will discuss the standard approach to international training and development. Technology makes training and development accessible at any time for multinational enterprises. Training and development courses are made available through computers, laptops, personal digital assistants, and are downloadable to devices like cell phones, iPads, and other types of tablets. Multinational enterprises must make sure that training and development is available for all worldwide employees on schedule. IT has made this possible by making training programs virtual through company-sponsored websites and global online sites. Computer-based training used to be very expensive and complicated, but now that technology and IT has developed, computer-based training is now accessible to everyone at their fingertips through e-learning tools. Even though e-learning is profitable and efficient, it is not perfect and can cause some problems if not taken seriously. Here are some of the concerns that multinational enterprises have with e-learning. Is the training standardized or is it localized to reflect local management practices and laws? Does everyone have access to the technology and is everyone familiar on how to use it? How acceptable is the type of training being offered and the form of communication in which it is delivered in different cultures? Are these courses available in local languages and covering topics of importance to local subsidiaries? Please feel free to watch the attached video in this slide. This video describes the 3R approach to working effectively in a cross-cultural environment. The 3Rs consist of recognizing cross-culture differences, respecting differences, and reconciling differences. Here we will cover cross-cultural preparation and international assignments. A human resource manager's first international training responsibility is to train and prep the international assignees and their families. The preparation of international assignees prior to going abroad and after arrival is important to their successful performance as selecting the right candidate and family in the first place. Cross-culture training must be provided to both the family and the international assignee. When international executive relocations fail, they generally fail either because expatriates can't grasp the customs of the new country or because their families can't deal with the emotional stress that comes with relocation. Cross-cultural preparations and adjustments. Recent surveys show that cross-cultural training is as important as selecting the candidate and that this training is provided not only to the employee but it's extended to their families. Culture shock is normal in families while adjusting to a new foreign culture. The key is in accepting that it is different, but there are times that the families do not accept it and end up moving back to their native country. Cross-cultural adjustment. Most international assignees and their families have a hard time adjusting to their new foreign situations. This is because most of the time the spouse of the international assignee must give up a job, house, friends, and family. Everything changes for them like routine, food, hobbies, and a way of life. This can be depressing and draining on everyone. Many in this position go through culture shock, which is the set of psychological and emotional responses people experience when they are overwhelmed by their lack of knowledge and understanding of their new foreign culture, and the negative consequences that often accompany their inadequate and inexperienced behavior. Culture shock mostly does not happen at the beginning of the assignment, but occurs after the honeymoon phase wears off, and the family or the international assignee realize that they do not know how to live by the rules of the new country. Some families leave and end the assignment early, and some eventually work through it. Here are the 5 phases of processing for designing an effective cross-cultural training initiative. First is identifying the type of global assignment for which cross-cultural training is required. Next is determining the specific needs of cross-cultural training. Third phase is establishing the goals and measurements for determining training effectiveness. Next is developing and being able to deliver the cross-cultural training program. And lastly, it is important to evaluate whether the cross-cultural training program was effective. The more effort and time put into the training process by both the trainers and the trainees, the better the international assignees and their families are able to learn the behaviors and attitudes for their new foreign country. In this slide, we will discuss the preparation for the international assignment. The international human resource managers must think of all the possible problems the international assignee and their families will face and possible solutions to those problems, like learning how to speak the language of the new country so they are more able to fit in and communicate with society there. It is important for international human resource managers to provide the assignees and their family with enough information about the assignment and the proposed location. Majority of the orientation and training will be focused on the culture, values, and norms of the new country. Here we will discuss some common barriers to knowledge management and sharing, some which include ignorance and lack of relationships, lack of a system for sharing, belief that knowledge is power, insecurity about the value of one's knowledge, lack of trust, fear of negative consequences related to sharing what one knows, the belief that best practices do not move across borders and cultures, language and translation issues, superiority and other condescending attitudes, and intra-organizational competition. International human resource management must work to minimize these types of barriers and to facilitate the sharing of knowledge and learning throughout the multinational enterprise. Here we will go over virtual and global teams. Since organizations are constantly changing, projects and teams is increasing and becoming more common. The number of members in the team have grown too. 15 to 20 group members used to be considered the norm. Now, having a team of 100 members or more has increasingly become more common. The teams will break into sub-teams so that goals can be reached efficiently. Teamwork in global organizations is vital. Training and management of culturally diverse teams are vital in having a successful team. Researchers have found that a diverse team that is managed effectively outperforms a homogeneous team. This is because there is more synergy that occurs with diversity. It is ineffective when they have poor management because of the problems that arise from their diversity. Creating training programs that include diversity training are a major focus for ensuring you have an effective team. Virtual and global teams are on the rise, and There are practices that can help lead these teams, such as having face-to-face meetings to develop personal relationships. Communicating regularly is important to show support and to ensure everyone understands their roles. Here we will go over global and leadership development. Majority of contemporary management and leadership development theories began in the Western world. By the 21st century, people began questioning if the ideologies made by Western leaders was still effective as globalization increased. Training and development is responsible for the development of managers for the multinational enterprises. With rapid globalization, there has been new global leadership theories presented to complement the emerging global company model. Here we will go over global leadership theories. GLOBE is considered to be the largest study of its kind with over 200 researchers and data obtained from 62 countries. The main purpose of this research project was to study how the different cultures around the world had an impact on leadership skills and qualities. Here we will go over which characteristics and behaviors lead to success. Businesses are requiring that their team members, managers, and executives have a profound understanding of the global marketplace and are capable in transferring this understanding into action. Global companies require executives who can easily adapt to other cultures, are fluent in multiple languages and cultures, and can effectively lead and be a part of an international team. Global Management Development Program at Colgate-Palmolive. After extensive planning, Colgate created a program to create a team of global managers. This program is known as the Global Marketing Program, in which on average consists of 15 recent MBA graduates that cross-train in multiple departments for 18 to 24 months. Colgate views this as a powerful tool to create the global management team their company needs. Colgate's global marketing program offers their employees a diverse and fluid environment in which they can move frequently. About 60% of their employees are from abroad, and about half of their CEOs are not U.S. nationals. Their top executives all speak at minimum 2 languages and have more than 15,000 people who apply for a slot in their program each year. Here we will go over some patterns of global management development. Although there has not been much research done on international management development, there are some approaches that firms will have in common. Choosing executives with talent is a common factor that most firms take priority in. They have experienced that the lack of talent in this area has an immense impact on the firm's ability to expand or continue their business overseas. Some companies will try to detect individuals who have executive potential by monitoring their job performance or employing individuals from top universities. Close monitoring is another practice that firms will perform so that they can ensure that the employees are gaining sufficient experience and can prove that through challenges and responsibilities, they will be able to manage effectively. In this slide, we will go over the identification of high potential leaders. The elite political approach is a method firms use to identify high potential leaders at the time of entry. They will recruit individuals who graduated top of their class from elite universities. Typically, when hired, the employees will begin in a managerial position without trial period. In some developing countries, large businesses are family operated and instead will hire family or executives from political connections. Here we will discuss the development of global leadership competencies. Global leaders require a certain set of unique skills. Research has found that every global leader had these 4 core set attributes. Inquisitiveness, also known as curiosity, perspective, character, and being savvy. It has been found that effective global leaders tend to be very curious. They love to learn about different languages, cultures, and regulations in other governments. Having the curiosity is one of the most important attributes because it is the key of having the interest and drive to understand different global business environments. Their perspective tends to be more on the open-minded side. They have a unique view of the world and are not bothered by uncertainty. In fact, they find it more stimulating. Global leaders have integrity, and this is found to be a common character trait because they can emotionally connect with a vast amount of people around the world. Lastly, being organization savvy has proven to be a core attribute because a global leader requires them to be highly skilled at distinguishing market opportunities and then having the executive resources to thrive in the market. Global mindset is a quality or a way of being that combines emotional education with intellectual education. It is important that there is a balance in perspectives when someone has a global mindset. They're required to pay attention not only to organizational cultures, values, and beliefs that are much different in their own beliefs, but also maintain a global view. This is known as having a dualistic perspective. Here are some characteristics of a global mindset. Although the characteristics cannot be limited to the list above, many will agree that these are various characteristics of a global mindset. Being able to manage global competitiveness, work and communicate with various cultures, manage global complexity and conflicts, being able to manage multicultural teams, uncertainty and chaos, and personal and organizational global learning. Now here we have some characteristics of an organization with a global mindset. The employees of an organization must be able to contribute to the global success of the firm. Being geocentric is the ultimate characteristic of an organization with a global mindset. This is achieved through having leaders who have a worldwide perspective and approach. Being geocentric is the fundamental goal in creating a globally integrated business system. The 4 T's are considered as effective ways in developing a global mindset. These are travel, training, team, and transfer. This concludes our presentation over Chapter 10. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Amanda or myself. We hope you enjoyed it, and thank you once again for allowing us to share our summary of the chapter. The next slide is the reference information, and the final slide is the interactive activity. Have a blessed rest of your week, and thanks, y'all.